Hey, welcome everyone. Looks like we've got people coming in. We'll give it till 2:32, I think, to get people in. Hope you've got some water by your side.
Welcome everyone.
Thanks for joining us today, guys.
Team here.
Yeah, so we'll kick off in about 1 minute. I think we'll just give a few more people a little bit of time to join, and then we'll kick off with some introductions.
Sounds good. All right. I think we're getting to a good number. I will slowly start to introduce the first slide as we start to kick off. Thanks everyone for being here today. You are at the NABERS Waste webinar. I hope that's the webinar you were trying to join. And this webinar is on our NABERS Waste update, which is all around trying to improve circularity outcomes. We have Ivana Brown here today, who's the head of market transformation that looks after waste. We've also got myself, the waste updates lead, and we've also got Kyle Sawyer, the technical officer on waste. So let's begin. I don't want to waste any more of anyone's time. Couldn't resist that, sorry. Firstly, we'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the traditional custodians of the lands on which we meet today. Virtually, that's quite a lot. First Nation communities have practiced resourcefulness and circular use of materials for tens and thousands of years. We have so much to learn from this enduring stewardship. A bit of housekeeping for today. This meeting, our webinar, is being recorded. We have put your microphones to mute, and we have put the cameras off for now. We are going to do a Q&A at the end that Kyle's going to run, so do feel free to ask questions in that Q&A, and we'll try to answer it in the time available. Otherwise, we do promise to send you individual emails after with those answers if they're not met in the time allocated. The agenda for today, we have, firstly, like all things, we're going to start at the start. We've got an introduction. We're going to tell you about the dry waste consultation done so far, and with that, share the updates to the rating calculations. And then we're going to share some of the new circularity reporting metrics that you'll see on our certificates and reports, and then tell you when it's all going to happen with the implementation timeframes and then next steps. If you didn't know already, now you do. We are updating our waste tool. We're going to highlight new circularity metrics, and we're going to respond to market changes. They're two of the key things we're trying to deliver with this update. The update that we're going to be talking about, that will be delivered by July 1, updating the treatment of dry waste in the calculations part of the rating tool. We're going to be doubling the material recovery score weighting, and we're going to be embedding circularity metrics in certificates and reports. Going through the introduction first, let's start at the beginning. So one of the most successful NABERS voluntary tools is the NABERS Waste Office Rating. We have received, it's been around for 8 years, and we've received year-on-year organic growth, thanks to a lot of you in the room. So thank you all for being a part of it, for helping, for continually rating. We've had nearly 1,320 ratings to date, with over 400 unique buildings rated. So you can show also those repeat ratings there too. We also have verifications available for hotels and shopping centres. So we're getting around 20 per year. And we also have rated 120 public hospitals with their unique rating algorithm. What the NABERS Waste tool is trying to do, it's trying to be the heartbeat of industry, and what the heartbeat of industry deems to be sustainable waste management practice. And that is to drive circularity through strong on-site source separation, maintaining robust data quality, but also prioritizing that waste avoidance and reduction. So NABERS is an industry-led tool. We always try to align with global best practice. We just wanted to share our intentions with that update looming today. Now we think it's really important. A lot of the update today is talking about dry waste. Let's define what dry waste is. So it's called dry waste or general waste if you're an assessor or a customer in a commercial building. It's a mixed stream of materials. It's mostly lots of things put in one bin meant to be deemed dry, and they're sent off-site with almost no sorting. And the outcomes of what those bins usually deliver is PEF, which is dry combustible waste that's shredded and compressed into briquettes for energy from waste use. And they're typically exported offshore to cement kilns, as well as energy from waste, which is any process that converts the waste into energy through incineration or combustion, destroying the materials. So mostly WA and SA have energy from waste facilities, but pretty much that dry waste bin has an outcome that's around mostly energy from waste style outcome. And industry has told us that that is quite different to other recycling outcomes. Emphasizing that point a little more, you can see up the top here, a building with a lot of source separation. It always works best with those centralized recycling stations and no under desk bins, but essentially that allows the material to be cleaner, and it gives those materials greater potential for circular economy outcomes, because essentially there's more places that will buy those products. If you keep your plastic bottles cleaner and glass bottles cleaner, more chance it can go to those facilities that can hopefully be pelletized or made into the product again. If things go into the same bin, continuing that point, they are more contaminated, there's less economic value, and there's usually fewer on-sale options, which is why usually the dry waste bin, it's really the main on-sale options is a waste from energy style outcome. So it's less aligned with the waste hierarchy, whereas that source separation is quite aligned with the waste hierarchy. We want to talk you through today. Number 2 is the dry waste consultation. A lot of you we've met so far throughout the last months of consultation, so thanks for meeting us. But we're going to run you through what we've done today and kind of the purpose of it. But let's go back and kind of tell the story. Historically, with NABERS, to get 6 stars in waste, you really had to be a building that had about 4 recycling streams performing very healthily to get the 6 stars. What's happened, as you can see with that column graph there, in the darker blue is sites with higher dry waste. So some buildings are moving to 1 or 2 streams, so getting rid of a lot of recycling options, and they're still getting 6 stars. And that's not the same as another building with 4+ recycling streams, which is what the consensus has said. We want to be clear that the update we're talking about today, 85% of sites in the rating tool at the moment remain unchanged. So it's really less than 1% of sites will have an over 2-star percentage change, because we're not saying dry waste shouldn't be in the mix. It's really important and needs to be in the mix, but it just needs to be in the mix. It can't be a dominant source. And no building with 1 or 2 bins right now produces those pillars of sustainable waste management. Some of the work we've done so far in this dry waste roadmap journey we've had is that we've had industry feedback since 2023, and it identified that energy from waste outcomes is not the same as material recycling, and it should sit lower on the waste hierarchy. A bottle going into a dry waste bin is very different to a bottle going into that yellow bin or a CDS bin, even better. So that was a clear piece of feedback we have consistently received over the last few years, and that it should be reflected in our tool. It should be reflected in the rating. Today, we have done two rules updates to try address this, where the rules updates were around kind of having more bin infrastructure on site, but we're still seeing a lot of sites come in. Well, still, it's not a lot of sites, but the sites that have come in that are the less than 1% of getting 1 to 2 streams on site, getting 6 stars, which is kind of what we're trying to correct for today and in this update. A lot of the consultation process, again, we've spoken to a lot of you so far, but we did try to do a really broad consultation and capture all the diverse industry views. We have done over 6 months of engagement. We've done about 3 rounds of direct targeted consultations. We've had over 50 direct meetings and 100+ stakeholders. A lot of you in the room are the people we've met, which are you're the current neighbours, assessors or customers. We've met with all the key waste and recycling industry associations, governance and standard bodies. That's WACRA from Accord to GECA to GBCA and actually quite a few more. We've also met a lot of the facility operators and service providers. So thanks everyone for your time so far. That has been, we really appreciate that. But essentially the consensus that we've heard is from everyone is that we need to change the waste hierarchy, and that's moving in our tool. It currently sits as a bit of a 2-tiered hierarchy, moving it to 3. So delineating out dry waste, it sits above landfill but below recycling. Additional insights was that we should add more weighting to the material recovery score, and there is a strong preference also for an implementation from mid this year. An implementation from mid this year still allows for nearly 2 ratings to happen before the change occurs. So it does allow a bit of time for sites to correct. We have done a lot of modelling to get to the option that we got to and to try and make sure we are aligning with best practice sustainable waste management. And we really think this update encourages on-site source separation again. Having more bins on-site allows for cleaner materials, better outcomes. We also think this it goes hand in hand with promoting the best circular economy outcomes for those materials. And we have checked and we are in alignment with all state and federal waste policies. And we've also worked with you guys for the last 6 months on this. So we have worked with industry and industry bodies to make sure everyone agrees and has consensus on this update. So the update to the rating calculations. I know you might want a specific calculation, but this is what we can share with you is that we are moving dry waste to the disposal category for calculation purposes. However, it's different to landfill. Can we make that very clear? It is different to landfill. It's preferred above landfill. So there's a weighting given to dry waste that gives it a benefit over the landfill. So that's the 2 parts of it. And then we're also in the update adding more weight to the material recovery score. Material recovery score is the part of the rating that really cares about circular economy outcomes. Where's things going and how good is that outcome? Out of 6 is the best you can get. Organics going to a fertilizer facility. So really just providing more evidence, assessors getting help from customers to ask more questions to waste contractors. You can just get a bit more of a rating, or you can get a higher rating. It scores up nearly half a star for just having more evidence in the material recovery score section. So the impacts of these changes, let me role play these out for you. So currently, these are 3 buildings that in our tool are getting 6 stars. These 3 buildings have different dry waste percentages, which is what you see in yellow. As we said before, dry waste is a really important part of the mix. Right now, there's no other option for paper towel. So 10 to 20% of a building's dry waste, along with having lots of other healthy performing recycling streams. With this update, you see not much of a change. It's very moderate. And then light blue is the additional credited recovery. So most sites, from what they'd be getting now, if you modelled it, you get a bit more just for doing the MRS better. But you can see here, if you are a dominant site with a dominant amount of dry waste in your building and not many other streams available, it is significant, the change. It's less than 1% of you, but it is significant. So really the key message is let's get more things on site, let's get more recycling bins, let's get more bins, and it can be a part of the mix. We're going to move away from the dry waste side now, and we're going to move to the circular economy reporting metrics that we're going to be adding to the tool. So we held a stakeholder consultation in 2023 on how to improve the material recovery score. And we also have been re-engaging with industry since then, particularly last year, to double check everyone still agreed with it. But essentially the working group highlighted that we needed to make circular economy metrics more visible. It's a cool term, lots of people use it. It's kind of hard to have the visible metrics to help non-technical crowds understand actually what you can do differently. So this update is awesome. It is trying to reflect that change, and we do have visible metrics that can be shared with non-technical, non-safe sustainability crowds, and hopefully try and boost some momentum within businesses to get more budget and to get more progress with circular economy reporting. So you might have seen something similar with our NABERS energy rating. There's a renewable energy indicator that looks at your renewables, but it's not reflected in the rating. This is similar for waste. So you still have the normal waste rating because we understand that some parts of circular economy outcomes are a bit hard to enact. Like right now in some states, there's not even organics options for particularly some sites. So essentially the Material Circularity Indicator is trying to be a visible metric to easily communicate your circularity across a few different key points, which I'm going to talk to you now. So one is the circularity of recovery processes. So that's one of the three things that goes into this pie chart that's going to be new on the certificate. It wasn't there before. And essentially that is grading the outcomes of each material stream. If organics goes to fertilizer facilities, that's a good outcome. All those CDS bins going to pelletizing types of options, if they were plastic, they're the best outcomes. Allowing a material to remain the material that it is throughout the recovery process and be on sold as that material again is the best outcome. So that was always in the waste report, but now it's kind of brought to light and put into this pie chart as well. There's also the traceability of the value chain. This one is new. So that's saying that, yes, you may get from a waste contractor that this material is going there, but you're actually going to get a slight grading on the evidence provided. And we have clear rankings of what evidence gives you what outcome. And we have the quality of associated data. So that was always in the report as well. But again, those three metrics build together to form you an easy pie chart. So hopefully you can go to the bosses and show them this type of material circularity indicator and they say, how can we get better than 13%? And the first thing should be probably evidence. That's the easiest, quickest win. Other cool metrics in our waste report that we want to share, we have an emissions metric. So very important if you're doing carbon neutral, net zero style reportings, waste is a huge emission, particularly landfill. So it's on our report. You can use it. Please do. We also have outcomes-based reporting in a 3-tiered model as per the update. That's in alignment with Global Reporting Initiative, GRI, which is the main sustainable best practice waste reporting framework. So again, you can see your rating in those three delineations there on the waste hierarchy in your waste report. And the verified waste score. This is a really useful indicator because essentially it's not just looking at your recycling rate. You may start a rating and get an 80% recycling rate. Then over time, as you get better data and get higher data quality score, you realize that recycling rate's dropped because you're actually getting better data. So that verified waste score looks at data quality and then you get an outcome. So it's really important because I've worked in particular roles where you're kind of dealing with poor data and you have higher results, and as you get better data you usually bump down with your recycling score, but the data is more accurate, and what's measured accurately is easier to manage. We have tried to be helpful and give you explainers that are consistent with the definitions of most of the other industry bodies nationally and globally. So that's what the bottom of the waste report is, trying to give you easy definitions that should hopefully be digestible and you can understand what the intensity we've got. Like, for example, you've got the waste intensity metric in the waste report. What do we mean by that? So that's what that part of the report is, trying to be clear and explain the metrics used above. So the data quality metric we have spoken about. As you can see, there's 3 data quality pie chart here. So in the past, we just had the table. Now you have the pie chart. The next one, you have the material recovery potential, you have the table, and you also have the pie chart. And thirdly, you have the value chain evidence, you have the table, and you also have the pie chart. There again, they're the 3 metrics that go towards your material circularity indicator. And another really useful thing with these tables is we break it down firstly by quantity, so weight generated. We also break it down by percentages. And something new that should hopefully be really helpful is there's a main driver column. And that's saying, for example, here, closed loop recycling, organics is the main driver. So the reason why you got the percentage that you did for closed loop recycling was from the material stream organics. So it's trying to just, instead of pulling apart the data set in the Excel, it's trying to just bring to light useful metrics. So the bottom things there, disposal is only general waste. So you can kind of look at the different material streams listed in the main driver and try work your way up to see if any of them can change for all the 3 pie charts that are there. All the 3 pie charts have the main driver in the table below. So really useful. Please use it. We're always happy to help you if you have more questions on it. And again, we have in each table, we have also got in each page, we've got the pie chart, the table, and we've also got the explainer. So this one in particular is saying, if you want to get to an excellent status for value chain evidence, you need to provide, it's in very small writing, an outcome statement as well as delivery evidence. So essentially, that's what the status excellent deems. And at the moment, the main driver for that in this example is organics. So hopefully a really useful way to work with the customers and work with waste contractors on seeing if any of these things can be improved year on year with the ratings. We have said it already, but just I'm saying that the waste report now aligns to Global Reporting Initiative, GRI. So it's the world's most widely used and globally recognized best practice sustainability reporting framework. So hopefully that waste report section is something that you can copy and paste when you're doing your GRI reporting. Now we're going to move to the implementation timeframes. So we've spoken about what the updates are. Now, when are they going to be updated? Key thing here is 1 July. So 1 July 2026, which is a few months away, any rating period from 1 July onwards will have the updated algorithm. This allows for most buildings, customers, assessors to pretty much get through one more rating cycle, because if the rating period ends before June 30, the current algorithm will be applied. So really trying to be clear, and because since we've been doing this stakeholder consultation for 6 months, we have seen nearly, as I said before, 2 cycles of ratings come through. So if the rating period is before June 30, current algorithm, July 1, new algorithm rating period. They're the key things to remember here. Lastly, next steps. We really want to be here to support you with these changes. Communication and collaboration is required with your broader teams, waste and cleaning contractors. And if you remember nothing from today, please remember this elevator pitch one-liner, that the broader message is that NABERS ratings are evolving in response to industry feedback, as there is a need to distinguish landfill, energy from waste, and recycling outcomes. Just to reiterate some of the points we've said so far, some ratings will have impacts, but as we said before, 85% of sites remain unaffected. But yes, some future ratings will change, but it's reflecting a more accurately sustainability aligned waste measurement. So it's a bit of a recalibration, which isn't always easy. It will take time to communicate and embed the shift, and we are here to support teams throughout the transition. It was a hard update to make. We have been very careful in our consideration to make it, but we also have received strong industry support to do so. We have done extensive industry consultation. There has been a clear majority in favour of how dry waste is recognised and reported on. I mean, it does align with the national circular economy goals, and it does strengthen market confidence in NABERS as a trusted measure of waste performance. As I spoke to before, we want to be the heartbeat of industry and reflect what sustainable waste management is. And we really want to ensure our ratings remain credible, future focused, and align with real environmental outcomes. So that is most of my presentation today on the update. We are now, I will shortly end and stop sharing, and Kyle is going to run through a Q&A section. So over to you, Kyle.
Thanks, Sarah. One of the first questions off the rank is, if I have a site with dry waste, how will I know what the impact will be? Ivana, perhaps you'd like to address this?
Yep, I'm happy to address it. So as Sarah introduced me at the beginning, my name is Ivana Brown, the Head of Market Transformation. If you have a site with dry waste, Sarah, Kyle and myself have already met with a lot of our customers who have ratings that are likely to see a negative impact as a result. Most ratings won't see a negative impact. Like as Sarah mentioned during the presentation, most of them will see no effect. And so if we haven't met with you, it's because you don't have a rating in our system that we think will be negatively affected. But if you do have a site and you do want to understand the impact of it more, get in touch with us. We're happy to spend some time talking you through what the impacts are, helping you to understand the changes for your specific sites. And yeah, maybe you've recently switched to dry waste as an example, and so we wouldn't know about that. That might be a good reason to get in touch with us. Yeah, but yeah, just get in touch via our mailbox. So it's neighbours@environment.newsouthwales.gov.au. And if you have any more questions, make sure you're popping them in the Q&A, and Kyle's going to be moderating those.
Thanks, Varna. Another question that's come up is around timing. Perhaps we could just say when these changes take effect and what should organisations be doing now to prepare?
Yes, so the ratings will be reflected or changed in the tool from July 1 this year, 2026, with a rating period from July 1 this year, 2026. So that's a few months away. It is something that, yes, we do have rating periods that lag, so it still may not come across customers' desks for quite a few months. But the key thing to work on is working with your waste contractors on the material composition or the bins available at sites. You know, dry waste, as we said, is an important part of the mix, but it's part of a mix. So let's make sure we've got multiple recycling options on site. We're really lucky in Australia. We have a CDS scheme in every state and territory, which is a really effective way to get cleaner materials and get unsold to more options. So really just trying to promote and make sure waste contracts actually have parts of the procurement in the contract that talk about incentivizing recycling or having that flexibility to add in more recycling options at site. Really key part. So it's really just more conversations with waste contractors, saying your goals for on-site source separation and understanding from them where materials are going. I'll leave it there.
Thanks, Sarah. We have a question about paper towels specifically. Somebody says that their paper towels are treated as organic waste and so are compostable. Is this considered in the model?
It depends what you put in the bin. So like essentially it depends on the bins and the material streams that you put in the rating tool. So those Excel spreadsheets you send to us, essentially if you're putting paper towel in organics, then there'd be no effect. You'd be getting the organics uplift. So you'd be saying it's highly recyclable. As I understand, paper towel can fit into an organics bin in a building when there's lots of other things there. I think if you just got paper towels, it wouldn't be as beneficial for organics, but especially if there's good kitchens there with high organics, then it can be a part of the mix. So that's a great way to put paper towels somewhere. Hopefully that helps others. That's a good idea.
Thanks, Sarah. I might also just elaborate that it depends very much on the jurisdiction. And in those jurisdictions where paper towels accepted separately, we have a compostable paper towel option. And somebody else has also commented that, you know, there are different levels of availability in different jurisdictions. We have another question specific to the timing. Is the submission date the determining factor, or does it depend on the rating period?
Yeah, so it's the rating period. Any rating period from July 1 has the new algorithm. So any rating period till June 30 will have the current algorithm or the old algorithm, to make that really clear.
Thank you very much. Somebody asked earlier, what's the longer term plan or vision once these updates are fully rolled out? Varna, perhaps you might be able to answer this one.
Yep. So one of the next things that we're going to be looking at after this update is migrating NABERS Waste to Perform. So that's hopefully welcome news to people. Yeah, Perform, if you do our energy ratings, you'll be familiar with that platform. And it's really the latest evolution of NABERS rating technology. So yeah, that's very exciting. There's a few other things that we'll be investigating sort of beyond that, and it will be further expansion of waste to new sectors, and also investigating waste reduction. But yeah, we haven't really worked out those in much detail yet. So they're sort of more a pipeline. But yeah, the next cab off the rank is definitely going to be waste migration to perform. So yeah, that'll take a little bit of time. It won't happen overnight, but you can expect some more information about all of those items over the coming months.
Thanks, Ivana. Sarah, one of the other questions that was raised earlier was, what are you doing to support contractors and facilities in providing the required evidence?
Yeah, good question. We've been able to have really good relationships with a lot of the waste and recycling contractors, and that's really, we say, pay homage to a lot of the industry associations that give us that lever, that access. We get to go to meetings and meet everyone and talk to them about it. So essentially, it's a two-way street. We hear from customers what they can get from waste contractors. We also like to hear from contractors what they can easily give to customers. But we also have a bit of an idea that we're trying to work on, where we provide a template, maybe if that's a time saving. So we'd be working on with the industry associations with them at some point soon on trying to understand, always that evidence piece will change. So I think that's a part of the tool that we'll always see updates, but just trying to hear from both sides, and as much as if there are many waste contractors or recycling contractors in the room, hearing from them about what's reasonable, because we have heard that sometimes customers want all this stuff from them and it can take a lot of time. So we don't want to be adding time burden, but we do need to have that transparency, and that is just a market reality. Everyone's going to be asking for it. That's the future. That's how we're all headed. So it's just, how can we do it reasonably so both sides are satisfied? And that is an evolving piece, I guess, to try and answer that question in a long-winded way. But yeah, there's the current evidence is already stated in the rules, and we are working on a template at some point that hopefully may streamline the process as well, if it's deemed useful for industry on both sides.
Thanks, Sarah. Yeah, I think when that template's available, it'll streamline the process for everybody. Another user has written the question, they're keen to understand if the volume of waste per person they're generating in their office is good or bad, kilograms per person per day. Are we still looking at adding waste intensity into the tool?
Yeah, we're definitely looking at adding, as Ivana alluded to before, waste intensity into the tool. It's a really useful metric. It's a key pillar of sustainable waste management. With any metric that you add, you have to have a really reliable data point. At the moment, people data points across buildings across Australia, when we've anecdotally spoken to different property owners, isn't as a useful metric as maybe meters squared or something else that like the Office Energy Rating has in LA. So potentially we don't know what the metric would be a part of that consultation process where we'd understand what's the best metric that has the best correlation to waste. And that would be how we'd kind of add that part of the algorithm in.
Yeah, so I guess what Sarah's saying is we're considering it, it's on the radar, but there's quite a few things to consider in how it is and when it is and what it is. So yeah, but it's definitely on the radar.
Thank you. And I should add that Accor and GECA are currently working together to develop a certification for Australian recycling facilities, and this will assist with verification. And thanks to the commenter who reminded us. We have had a couple of questions about specific waste streams that I could probably handle together. People have mentioned coffee grounds and Nespresso pods, which are currently already in our tool. And so we can help facilitate if an assessor is trying to add those. Also, someone asked about coffee cup contamination audits, and yes, that will be possible. And I'm not sure if we've got many more questions coming through.
I can see one from saying, what is the most common way you are seeing organic waste be processed? I would say it's organics is probably the main material stream that does have a good circularity outcome. There are good, depends on the state. Let me reiterate that. The middle to the lower eastern seaboard, New South Wales, Victoria, have very good fertilising facilities that can take in organic waste. But yeah, definitely not across all of Australia. But I'd say it's you're mostly getting processed as a part of like a fertilising facility.
Somebody's raised the question, I think it's a good one. Is there a plan to bring NABERS waste to tenancies? Ivana, perhaps you'd like to answer this one.
We don't have that in our plans at the moment. Yeah. But we are always open to feedback. So yeah, if there's a strong case for it, like we will consider it. Yeah.
Yeah, so if people are keen to see that, please let us know. Okay.
I can see there was a few questions about what information will be made available after the webinar. Did you want to talk about that, Kyle?
Yeah, so this meeting recording will be available on our YouTube channel in a few days. And if people are keen to hear more about their particular portfolios or buildings, please reach out to us and we'd be happy to discuss individual cases with you offline. And then if people are really interested to see the slide deck, we might be able to prepare a copy for that as well.
I have seen one question come through saying, would the waste emission information be available in waste verification reports as well? Yes, yeah. So anything in the waste report is for any office ratings, but also any sector doing verifications. The report is the same.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. Okay, well, I think that's just about all of them, unless anybody's...
Yeah, there was a question about Nespresso pods, recycling streams for Nespresso pods. Curious to understand if you include new commercial recycling streams like Nespresso pods.
Yeah, so we've got like 51 different types of materials on our tool, and we're looking to add more as they become available to the market all the time. At the moment, we have one for coffee pods and coffee grounds. Those are two, one each, and if more materials and product stewardship streams become available, we would add them as the market demanded. But yeah, so we find that the majority of cases are pretty well handled by those 51 streams. And yeah, if something else isn't, then please let us know and we'll be happy to look at it.
Yeah, and I can see somebody asked if we're going to publish the calculations. We don't typically publish our calculations for any of our tools. But if you want to, like to I guess the first question, if you are interested about understanding the impacts for a specific site, like please get in touch with us and we're happy to talk through that. But yeah, so just let us know.
Somebody's asked about spreadsheet formatting issues when uploading waste data to the NABERS platform. I'd be happy to answer this one. Yes, these will be answered in the migration to NABERS Perform, but if you're having any issues of a technical nature in the meantime, please reach out to us and we'll be happy to help. Somebody asked, any update on the development of an API for large portfolio submissions?
Not at present. And then the best email to contact us, we will share with you, as Kyle said, it'll be posted on YouTube, the webinar today, and on that email we'll have Kyle and myself. So we're the best contacts, as well as Matilda, who is on leave right now, but there's a few of us working on waste.
Also, our general email for communications is always nabers@environment.nsw.gov.au.
Yeah, I was going to say that's the best way to get in touch with us.
And it'll get directed to us anyway.
Yeah.
Somebody's asked, does the new algorithm weight dry waste as 20% of the real recycled waste stream? I'd probably direct you to Sarah's Ivana's earlier answer. We don't generally share the back-end calculations, but be happy to talk to you about your specific buildings. Yeah.
But I think maybe what they're trying to say also is maybe if your site doesn't have a lot of dry waste usage, so it's 10 to 20%, the change is very moderate, which is what we tried to show with some those building examples.
Yeah, but if you'd like to see how that sort of translates into a real world building that you have or a real world rating, just get in touch and we're happy to work through that with you.
Right, well, is that it? We may give you all 20 minutes back. We really appreciate the time today that you've given us, as well as over the last 6 months. Quite a lot of you have given us a lot of hours. So definitely thanks for being a part of the NABERS Waste community. Thanks for listening today. You can always reach out to us, as we said, through the NABERS inbox. They'll come through to us anyway. And yeah, we'll let you guys go for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for
Sarah.
joining us. Thanks, Sarah.